Happy Saturday and welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Debate with Sam and Tate, brought to you by Fantasy Focused, the original Hooters, and Monkey Knife Fight. If you guys have not subscribed, please go ahead and do so. And if you have not made a Monkey Knife Fight account, go ahead and do it, because it is an awesome way to make prop bets and to have some more fantasy fun while we're in this conundrum that we are, that is the quarantine status of COVID. But I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Derek Tate. Derek, how the hell are you today?
Finally, the Fantasy Debate has come back to Saturday evening. I don't think we've actually ever done an evening recording, but I am fantastic. I am ready to talk some fantasy football.
Perfect.
Because we've got some news and notes we need to discuss that make me a little concerned about fantasy football in 2020. But other than that, I'm good.
And that first note would be that the first official NFL cancellation due to COVID has happened. The Hall of Fame game has been canceled. I think this is, we talked about it a little bit off air. We talk about it because we're always talking football. But what is this season going to look like? And this is obviously the first cancellation of note. Take it with a grain of salt, or are you really, really worried?
I kind of expected it. So I'm not pushing the panic button quite yet. We've seen, in particular, we know that the NFL players, a lot of them don't even like the preseason. They think it's too long to begin with. Yep. And this is a perfect reason. What better reason than health and safety protocols, precautions, than canceling preseason games? So I expect this to be the first of many preseason games that actually get the axe over the next month or so. But that being said, we are seeing, obviously, I feel like the second wave of COVID-19 positive tests across the country. And in particular, California, Florida, Texas, where 25% of NFL teams reside in those states. So as we see COVID-19 cases spike, and the fact that the NFL isn't doing something similar as of right now to like that of the NBA, which is bubbling themselves in a specific area, yeah, I'm a little concerned that we may see that about COVID-19's impact on the upcoming 2020 NFL season. Hey, we have people joining us.
We do.
I want to say, Kyle, hello. And Sam
up,
now
Kyle?
has 7 times the amount of hair as Tate.
Yeah, I haven't had a haircut, obviously, through all of this. And I can stretch my arm out straight and still be holding on to my hair. That's how long my hair is.
What do you think of like the like anchor comb over? I've got like a small part right here. It's not perfect, but it's just a little side comb over.
I mean, I think it's like you said, it's not perfect.
Thank you. Anyway,
but Will Jenkins is in here too.
What up, Willie? Willie Jenkins.
Guys, if you have any questions or anything, you've got drafts going on, please throw, questions at Derek and I so we can jump in on those the entire time during the podcast. We love to answer any questions you guys have. But I love that you bring up the NBA and their response to COVID and their bubble they've created. They announced that they are going forward with this new playoff strategy in the bubble. Same time they announced that, they said, 16 players tested positive out of 300?
It's definitely more than 10, and I expect that number to climb. In particular, when you get everybody back congregating in the same area, touching the same basketball, we're going to have to really keep a close eye on this. Even in Tampa Bay, with the Tampa Bay Lightning, we saw a couple Philadelphia Phillies test positive for COVID-19. So you start getting these players back together and people in the same area touching the same equipment. This is unprecedented and uncharted territory for a lot of these teams. So we're going to have to keep an eye on it. And hopefully the month of August and September are going to be very busy as far as sports go, because don't get me wrong, nothing against UFC or boxing or NASCAR or golf, but I want my football. Please don't mess with my football, please.
I know. I want my football. Hopefully, based on the fact that, our season doesn't start for a couple more months, means that they would have the time to put into proper protocols to make sure that players don't continue to test positive. However, it's not looking like people are following the protocols anyways. People are going to parties. Ezekiel Elliott got COVID. A couple other Texans players or Cowboys players, but a bunch of people are still getting it. And I think until we can get everyone to just agree to just grin and bear it and just stay home or just stay separated, socially distanced, you're not going to have that. Now, I got to call out your boy, Tom Brady, who's still going and practicing holding practices with his teammates because he's Brady. He's going to do it. But because he's Brady, don't you think he should kind of set an example of the distancing?
I saw an ESPN article calling out Tom Brady for being basically a shit role model during this period of time, from like Ian O'Connor of ESPN. First off, I never want to tell any grown-ass adult how to live their life.
Sure.
And I will say this. If you're going to criticize Tom Brady for throwing the football with his teammates, then you have to criticize every single person that goes to a bar. You have to criticize every single person that goes and protests right now, which, again, I don't want to tell people how to live their lives. It's your choice. I just want people to take precautions, wear a mask, wash your damn hands, which you start to get into some territory. I don't think that you're going to see much of that, though, because you start letting people opening things back up, you're going to see things spike. And I mean, a good number of those folks are people under the age of 40, because they're just sick of staying home. And I don't blame them. It's boring, but
yeah, I don't blame them. But if we don't figure out a way to actually stop people from going out and start wearing those masks, damn it. Yeah, just wear them. Like, it's not your freedom that we're trying to halt. We're just trying to keep more people from dying. So just wear the damn mask. If we don't figure out how to do this, like the spike went like this, teetered off, and we're back up. We're leading the world in COVID cases. Congratulations, America. We won.
Leading the way,
as always, leading the charge in that. But I'm excited to see how the NBA experiment goes. I will be obviously watching every game because I'm missing sports so much, but also because I do love basketball. So interested to see how that plays out. And I think that the NFL will be taking notes. Hopefully we'll be taking notes on how those protocols go. And then I really want them to start talking about creating a bubble, because I don't see the players feeling safe enough to actually play. And then we get a players strike because we get a huge surge in cases.
Well, this is going to be very difficult to try to set up a bubble within the next 2 months, though. I mean, think about it. Yeah. The NHL has been trying to find 2 hub cities for their 24-team season restart. So, and they still haven't even determined them as of yet, unless it's something that dropped earlier today or something of that nature. So, I mean, it's very difficult to do that. In particular, though, Sam, I mean, how many players are on an NHL roster? Probably somewhere around 15 to 20. I mean, NFL generally has a 53-man roster with 22 players on the field at the same time.
Not counting all the coaches, staff.
Right. Yeah. It starts to get increasingly concerning if you start to really do the math, because you have basketball. There's 12 people on a general roster. I mean, and then you have your coaches and staff, but there's over 2,000 players in the National Football League, and you're trying to conduct an entire season with basically everybody on the honor system, because the bubble there in Orlando, you can kind of keep tabs on everybody. But, I mean, if you're just going to host NFL games in normal stadiums, there is a shit ton of, gray area there with players once they leave the football field, where the hell they're going. It's
where they're going, all of the travel that it takes to get to the different stadiums. So even if you get one place, so you arrive somewhere Wednesday, ready for your away game, you test positive Thursday, you're out. Okay, who did you have contact with? Who did you sit next to on the bus, the plane, that also now needs to get tested, possibly affected? So now other teams are going to hear, okay, that person tested positive. I don't really feel comfortable sending my players out against a team that maybe has 5 people that tested positive in one trip.
By the way, we need a drinking word, but
we do. Yes. We do need a drinking word. And actually I did make a margarita, guys. I apologize. Now, I didn't measure. I normally measure. I love making drinks, but there's easily like 4 shots of tequila in this mason jar right now.
I'm keeping it. It even says light, simple, lemon, lime, as Levy probably knows, who's joining us in the comments, because it's Levy, and I know he always jumps in there as fantasy focused. Bud Light Limes, one of my faves way back when. But I do want to, before we get to some of the questions, because someone brought up Josh Gordon and Victor Jace brought up Antonio Brown and Josh Gordon. We're going to get to that in just a second. But I want to bring up like league format, because with coronavirus, we see people testing positive left and right. We've even seen it with the PGA Tour, that they immediately have to withdraw and then self-quarantine themselves for 10 days. when something like that happens in the National Football League, which it's inevitable, it's going to happen.
Yep.
We need to be able to have the fantasy football flexibility with your roster, IR spots. So you don't have to constantly be, dropping studs that are out for a couple of weeks. I mean, this spreads so quickly that you could be in a pinch in the blink of an eye when it comes to your fantasy squad. So I'm actually a proponent of trying to really ramp up the IR spots in any league that I play. I'm going to be lobbying for that because I feel like you're going to see some weeks where there's just going to be a ton of players that test positive, and then you have to pivot and make, waiver wire pickups on the fly, way more so than we've ever seen.
And there's a lot of leagues that have very specific waiver wire rules and weeks. So there's a lot of leagues, I'm in one in particular, where you only have one day that you can submit for claims. Now, if that holds true for other leagues, you might want to have an emergency meeting with your league and say, hey guys, we need to have some flexibility on this rule, because you could have your waiver wire go through, get the guy you want. Not only is that guy test positive, but someone else on your roster test positive, and now you've got to fill in a spot, but you can't pick up anyone. And maybe you can make trades. That's an option, but I think there needs to be some flexibility. I love the idea of having an extra IR spot specific for COVID. I think would be really helpful. It'd be fun if all formats could make a little zhuzh to the format and have a little extra green spot next to that IR.
That is some developer type stuff, though. That's some developers type stuff that writing code is not my thing. Just add.
Oh, it's just a bunch of lines and numbers. It's fine. Someone can do it.
Yeah, I'm sure it's that simple. Not for your boy, not for me. I've tried HTML type of writing. It's not for me. But so the point being, though, is I think that if we are going to have, assuming we have an NFL season, knock on wood, that we do have an NFL season, that it really, in every single league, you need to have some flexibility when it comes to being able to make your roster. And speaking of being able to make your roster, Victor Jace, thank you for joining us. Love you, my man. We're talking Antonio Brown or Josh Gordon. Who gets a chance to play football this season? I know that Josh Gordon applied for reinstatement into the league again. No offense to Josh Gordon. I've been burned by your boy. Substance abuse is certainly a nasty, nasty battle that addicts have to deal with on a daily basis. So I'm not.
Yes, but cannabis is now legal. So for football players, so he dodges that one bullet. It's just the other stuff.
Josh Gordon has all kinds of stuff going on. So I mean,
they both have a lot of stuff. I love that you bring this up, Victor.
Right.
So
he has a bunch of stuff.
I mean, Josh Gordon has those demons. Antonio Brown has his whole cluster F of problems that are not even substance related, just personality wise. So
cheers to censoring yourself. Cluster F.
Yes, thank you. I tried. But who do I see actually getting on a roster? Honestly, either of them could be on a roster, because like we said, if you have certain players go out and are out for multiple days or weeks with COVID, I could see a team picking up and doing a quick contract for any of these guys, just because they want to shore up those positions. So I think that you could see either of them. Do I want to see either of them? Probably not. I really don't want to see Antonio Brown or hear him in the news anymore. I'm kind of over it. And as someone that has these colors behind them,
yeah, I was going to say,
I've moved past him.
Have you?
I have.
Looks, that sounded a little sour grapes-ish.
I mean, how can you not be sour? This was someone who is a league winner in fantasy, but also as just a fan of that team and that base. I mean, he was a polarizing player. As soon as you saw him on the field lined up and you saw someone take a misstep, you knew he was taking it to the house and he was getting that touchdown. So he was an amazing player. I'm not saying that he's not an amazing player, and I love all they did for my team, but the shenanigans, I'm over the shenanigans.
I hate it.
No more shenanigans.
For me personally, when it comes to Antonio Brown, one of the things that indicted me the most when it comes to his character was his take and how he tried to put Juju Smith-Schuster on social media blast by screenshotting DMs that he sent him that were all respectful. If anything, it made Juju
look really good.
Really good.
He's a delightful kid.
Like a respectful young player that just wants to try to get better. And just showing a veteran who's done a lot in this league a lot of love. I mean, it made Antonio Brown look like a clown. And he's made himself look like a clown outside of that situation for quite some time now. So personally, I think if anybody has a chance to get on the field this year, Victor, I think it's more so Josh Gordon. and he's still been staying in Seattle, working out from reports that have leaked out of the Seattle area with Josh Gordon. He's staying. I mean, Josh Gordon's always been in shape. I mean, the dude is built, has the body of like David, like a David statue. Like, he looks fantastic always. But you know, we'll have to wait and see. But if he gets reinstated, I imagine he'll re-sign there with the Seattle Seahawks, and he'll play again with Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and company. But other folks jumping in the comments, Kyle responding to Victor, I think it's Josh Gordon, simply because the league will no longer punish for cannabis. You kind of mentioned that. Talked about NHL rosters. Kyle mentioned it's around 25. So, I mean, I know there's 6 people on the ice, a lot of line changes, a lot of moving parts. But I mean,
still don't understand icing. I know that it's offsides, but I don't get it because there's a lot of ice.
Does anybody want to go ahead and jump in there and let Sam know?
Help me understand
why?
icing.
I know you understand it.
I understand it's offsides. I still understand what the freaking out about it. And then you get to go to timeout. I don't understand.
I always turn that rule off whenever I played a video game. I always hated that shit, like, you know, because it slowed down the game.
I never like offsides in soccer either. So I'm just saying, like, I don't like that rule. Let the guy win. He beat the other guy. Just let him win.
Run faster than the guy if he gets behind.
Run faster. Just be better. That's my response.
Imagine that was the same case for like wide receivers in the National Football League. Like, yeah. You put your guy in coverage.
That would be horrible.
Victor Jace also mentioning that Canada actually has multiple cities that are in consideration for the NHL hub cities, which kind of makes sense because you have that extra, you know, international component that comes into it. And if the, you know, those Canadian cities are more capable of being able to host all of the NHL players that are going to be playing, that is obviously taken into consideration. Hey, Jace S. Hi, superstars. If a player tests positive right before a game, that game has to be postponed for full team testing. That's interesting. I mean, is that going to be the case? Is the game going to be canceled if a player on one team tests positive the Sunday morning of an actual NFL game?
And if that happens, then what kind of new crazy world do we live in where if they have to postpone that game, there's multiple games throughout the week more so than just our normal Sunday, Monday, Thursday?
Right.
Are we going to get games on Saturday? Are we going to get games on Wednesday? Do we get gifted with more football games in a sense because so many games have been postponed? I think this is going to exhaust the players. And honestly, I could see them canceling the season in the middle of it because players just being fed up with the travel and the wear and tear on their bodies in that respect.
Yeah, but then you're talking about also if they're not playing, that means they're not getting paid. I mean,
Sure.
potentially, we don't know exactly what. I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know all the contracts when it comes to the financials. No, I'm not. I hate to break it to you. There are things I know, Sam.
I learned something new.
Thank you, Sam. But no,
margarita is strong.
How many 1,000, 2 1,000s did you use when it comes to pouring the tequila in there?
I poured it and then said oops. So that's about the 1,000s that I did.
Can you say whoopsie?
No, because that's your line, not mine.
I know that's my catchphrase.
That's your line.
It's fine. Tyler did bring up the other stuff that Josh Gordon has struggled with is quote unquote not legal. That is true.
I just, there was such a plethora. I didn't want to be misquoted and say the thing that he wasn't taking. No, he doesn't do that one.
So Kyle does have a question though. 4 picks away in one of Josh Bosch's eliminators with the tight end premium. I want to grab one of the following: Jared Cook, Rob Gronkowski, Mike Gesicki. How would you rank those 3? I love the tight end conversation because
I do. Because it's obviously a very divisive position in that there are obviously some leagues where it's not necessarily your super high one and you can stream the position rather easily. And then you've got these fun diabolical leagues where you've got tight end premium and you're like, why did you do this to me? So outside the top 3, it makes it really difficult. I think for me, I would go Cook, Gronkowski, and Gesicki in that order that you have it. I think that Gronk is going to have a couple big play games and that he is such, a security blanket for Tom Brady, a very easy red zone option for him. But I don't see us getting Gronk of years past where he was obviously just blowing it up. I don't see that. But I think for amount of volume, I feel like I like Cook most of the 3. You're making a face. You disagree. I look forward to it.
I'm not going to go pun intended, but I am going to go pun intended. With the other two, with Jared Cook and Rob Gronkowski, there are a lot of cooks in the kitchen with as far as pass catching options in both of those offenses. I mean, no, I mean it. Like, I thought it was a good pun.
Nice pun.
I thought it was good. So when it comes to the Saints, I mean, Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas are obviously going to dominate the targets. And then you have Emmanuel Sanders, who they added, by the way. And then you have other complementary pieces in the passing game for the New Orleans Saints. Tampa Bay, I mean, they've got 3 very able-bodied tight ends now on the roster. And then that doesn't even include the likes of Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. So Gronkowski, who just retired and is coming out of retirement, there's a lot of uncertainty there. Target volume, a lot of uncertainty there. Jared Cook, same exact thing. Mike Gesicki, though, I loved what he did to finish last season. So, Kyle, in particular, I'm going with Mike Gesicki as the top of these 3 options. Then I've got Jared Cook and Rob Gronkowski. And if you don't like my take, let the hate flow through you.
I think that was Tyler's take after I said I moved past Antonio Brown and don't care about him anymore. I get it. I mean, if I went off the rails and just said, yeah, sure, I guess that makes sense. But
what was that voice you just made? Is that our drinking voice for today?
No, you sound like an old person.
I know. I'll stop. I have way cooler voices than that. My bad. Flash Fantasy jumping in saying Josh Gordon could come back, but the Browns down on his side. Look, Josh Gordon is not coming back to the Cleveland Browns. They have parted ways. That ship has sailed and then got sunk somewhere in the Pacific. So
Agreed.
I'm going that if he's coming back, he's going to be a Seattle Seahawk. And there's a lot going on with the AB circus. Tyler, 100% agree with that. 1,000% AB, according to Willie Jenkins. I agree with that. Tyler's saying, Sam, it's a team, can't get a 1-goal lead. And, icing. We're back to the icing.
Oh, thank you, icing, yes.
That is the explanation from Tyler.
At the other end of the ice for the rest of the game. Oh, okay. I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
And then Kyle jumping in with his own icing explanation. So, I mean, and Victor, I mean, look, everybody's jumping on these questions.
Everyone's helping me. I appreciate it, guys. I'm going to get a much better depth knowledge of icing more so than the baking I normally do. So I appreciate that.
Tyler, I don't know what 6 shots means. We definitely cannot take 6 shots and then still comprehend what we're saying on the mic. So we'll go ahead.
I think that's like about how many shots are in here. I don't think it's 6. I think it's closer to like a half cup.
I'm definitely not going shots, period, while I'm on the mic. I can't do it. I've done that before. It was a terrible idea. I also ate 25 wings in one sitting while on the mic as well. That was a horrible idea. I was full and unable to I was sweating the entire time. And really, let's not go there. Anyway, so we really need
bad experience.
Whoopsie. Perfectly timed catchphrase. So as we go ahead, though, and kind of transition from some of the news and notes, we want to talk about some of the players that, I mean, when we talk about our fantasy ride or die picks for the upcoming 2020 NFL season, we really want to talk about guys that we want on. I want them on every single one of my rosters, period. If I can get them even I'm willing to reach on some of these players, giving their current ADP, which I've got some of the current ADP. I love Fantasy Pros. Shout out to Fantasy Pros. They've got a great ADP tool to be able to use for your upcoming fantasy drafts.
They really do.
So we'll start at the quarterback spot. And again, fantasy debate with Sam and Tate. If you haven't yet done so, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for joining us live if you are just joining us here for the first time. If you got your fantasy squad for each and every position, go ahead and sound off in the comments. Let us know exactly who you have at each position that we're going to discuss here. But Sam, go ahead, lead us off. Quarterback spot. Who is your ride or die quarterback for 2020? Did you notice I put a little spice on that with the pronunciation? Yeah.
You did. Okay, so now for me, this guy, he's going to be my ride or die forever. I love the athlete, and I love his talent, and I think he can do a lot with very little. Now, I know that I'm going to, like, I feel like there's a top two at the position for quarterback that are obvious. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, a very easy ones to pick. However, I love the value that you're going to get this player at because he had such a shift in his roster, and that would be Deshaun Watson. He is my ride or die. This guy can complete a pass getting kicked in the face with his eyes closed. He's done it before, and he'll do it again, I'm sure, because he's going to have to be running like crazy this season. He's going to have to make passes out of nowhere to anyone that can take them. I'm sure that Brandon Cooks is going to be an amazing weapon for him. I'm looking forward to it. And I look forward to seeing him using David Johnson in the passing game as well. I think that this is just a guy that can make it work. He is the make it work quarterback. And I'm excited to see that volume I'm going to get out of him at the place that I'm going to draft him this year. So that's why he's got to be my ride or die.
So you talk about where you can get him right now. And you can get him at the very beginning of the 6th round right now, as his current ADP, according to Fantasy Pros, is right now at 62. And that is right after the 5th round, beginning of the 6th round. And all Deshaun Watson has done in back-to-back seasons is finish the season as the quarterback 4 in PPR formats.
He's going to also catch it to himself.
He's a hell of a PPR
he's going to pull Bugs Bunny on the field this season, and he's going to just throw it up high, get deep, and catch it.
Fair. I mean, you could do that because he lost the counterpoint I'm going to make.
He lost Hopkins, and that's why.
He lost D-Hop, though. Like,
he did.
That matters.
That it does matter. I'm not saying that it doesn't matter. I'm saying that because he lost that's why you're going to get him at the value that you're going to get him when you do. He's still going to be completing passes. Just because you lost him doesn't mean that he's not going to still pass the ball. He's still going to pass the ball. He's still going to run. He's still going to do all of these things. And I think he's going to have to run a lot more. So I love the idea of the additional rushing touchdowns I'm going to get from him, as he's going to be pulling the make it work with this team.
It's hard to argue with Deshaun Watson. I love Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
And they, to their credit, they did go ahead and at least add Brandon Cooks. I think they overpaid for Randall Cobb, and he doesn't make a huge difference for me. I'm going to pivot, and I'm going to go in a different direction, because if I'm spending top, like one of my first 5 or 6 picks on a quarterback, there's other guys I'd rather target. I'd much rather have Dak Prescott. I'd much rather have Russell Wilson than Deshaun Watson for this year. And again, it's nothing against Deshaun Watson. I think he's one of the best young superstars at quarterback in the National Football League. He'll still produce, because you said one of his underrated and underappreciated skill sets is the fact that the dude can absolutely ball out and tuck the sucker and run on his own.
Absolutely.
100.
He can make a play out of nothing. He can extend the playability, and being able to get out of the pocket, actually make maneuvers across the field to still advance the yardage despite not being able to get to an open player.
100%. He's
just so dynamic in that way, and that's why I like him. I love that you brought up Dak Prescott, because I do feel like time and time again, I get too low on him, and he has amazing yards. Obviously, he's going to have that this year. Obviously, with CeeDee Lamb, I do appreciate that. I just love the value that I'm going to get it for Deshaun Watson, where I can get him in any league. And that opens up a lot of other roster spots for me by waiting on quarterback for him.
So we have a couple of our listeners right now that are sounding off. And we have some like all caps type stuff. We got Josh Allen in all caps, which
love it.
So look, Tyler, 100% agree with your boy Josh Allen. Josh Allen is basically Cam Newton 2.0. Well, I wouldn't say 2.0. I would say right there at equal level software. It's like it's like releasing another iPhone, but
it's like another iOS 10.3.
Right, exactly. He's no
better than Sierra.
There's no actual improvements from Josh Allen to Cam Newton in his prime.
He's Catalina, and Cam Newton is Sierra. That's the next one, I think. I get it.
Well played.
I'm following.
Dak Prescott coming in, Victor Jace with
Love
Dak.
Mm-hmm.
For Kyle, he's got Watson better than Russ Wilson. And look, I don't blame
Kyle, you're on my team.
Jump aboard, Kyle. And then I believe I saw someone bringing in Kyler Murray, which Kyler is another guy that, he just got one of the top 3 wide receivers in the National Football League. And
no big deal.
No big deal. And he's got, I mean, he's going to be another year in the National Football League, and you add that to his arsenal, and he can also
run.
He can also run, exactly.
Although I don't think he's going to have as much opportunity to run with how many weapons he now has. See, that's where the trade-off happens. I think that because they've just shored up all of Kyler's weapons, he's not going to have the need to run as much. So I think that number maybe either plateaus or takes a dip, and I think that Deshaun Watson's rushing numbers goes up.
And that's all well and fine. So that is where everyone stands, and I love the upside, the rushing upside with all the quarterbacks we just named, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson. They're all worthy of where they're being drafted, but I'm going to go another round or two back, and I'm going to go with Carson Wentz, who right now is the 12th quarterback off the board in a lot of scenarios as far as according to Fantasy Pros. And again, this information can change, so take it with a grain of salt. But right now he's averaging ADP is 100, which means he's going off the board in the middle of the ninth round, beginning / middle of the ninth round. And when it comes to Carson Wentz, who did he have to throw to last year? I'm asking. Outside of an injured Zach Ertz, then we've got what, Dallas Goedert, and I love Dallas Goedert. I think Dallas Goedert.
He's got a great name for football.
I mean, and the Eagles moved in front of the Dallas Cowboys to take Dallas Goedert. It was one of the best, middle finger moves that the like an in division rival could pull. But when it comes to Carson Wentz, though, and the story with him is always health. So I mean, if you take Carson Wentz, I think that you have to back him up with someone like a veteran, like Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, Jared Goff, all come to mind. Definitely get another quarterback that you can stream and pair him up with. But look who they added. I mean, we're going to have a healthy Deshaun Jackson heading into the year. They got a Deshaun Jackson clone in the Jalen Reagor out of TCU.
You love saying his name. They give it justice. Say it the way you normally do.
Jalen Reagor, like Reagor Todd Gideon, and you got to watch Game of Thrones to get that reference. But anyway,
I might be quarantined inside my house, but I'm not going to take the time to watch all of Game of Thrones.
That really bothers me. But
it's way too much.
We'll move on. And then also they added Quez Watkins, who can absolutely fly. I mean, fly, Eagles fly. No pun intended.
Fly like an eagle.
Anyway, so and you have a healthy Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert. Like, pick your poison. Do you want to get dink and dunked with the tight ends, or do you want to you want to give up the vertical, go one-on-one on the outside with some of these speed demons? Carson Wentz, if he can stay healthy, this is a match made in heaven as far as the weapons they put on the outside. And
I'm sorry. I'm laughing because Kyle's totally on my team. Yes, Sam, stay away from Game of Thrones. Thank you. I can do other things with my time.
Whatever. I mean, what the hell with this? So we've had a lot of ride or die quarterbacks. I didn't see anybody say Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes because you're having to spend like high-end draft capital to get those guys on your squad.
Absolutely. I mean, they're obviously like, if you can have them on your team, yeah, absolutely want them on my team. I do. But I think what we're talking about here with these ride or dies are players that, I mean, not necessarily super deep picks. These are not sleepers, to be very specific. These are not sleeper players, but they're players that where you get them at, I think that you're going to get a lot bang for your buck where you take them. So I think that's why
they're properly valued, and guys that I would probably even reach an extra round just to make sure I get them on my team. And I knew it. Ryan Levy, Kyler, and he's drinking. Somewhere I saw that he's drinking Bud Light Limes or Bud Light Seltzers or something like that. We're kindred spirits, my man. And Andrew, isn't it a little late for Sam and Tate? Nice rhyme. I thought you guys generally record earlier.
We normally do.
I like this aspect of the unknown with Sam pouring, copious amounts of tequila into her margarita. So,
would you rather have morning Sam that has to drink matcha, or would you rather have evening Sam that can drink a margarita?
I think we're going to see an overwhelming response of we would rather have Sam drinking. So
maybe we moved to evenings. So cheers. We didn't actually pick a drinking word. We just mentioned a drinking word, and we just kept drinking and talking, which is kind of what we normally do.
Is anybody else drinking? And if you are drinking right now, what are you drinking? Sound off in the comments. As we move now to the running back spot.
Yes.
So I got Carson Wentz as my ride or die. You got Deshaun Watson as your quarterback. So who do you got at the running back spot? Because this is interesting. Do you want to go with like a sleeper, like late in drafts, or do you have somebody you believe in earlier in the draft that you want to hitch your wagon to?
I think for me, it's got to be someone I'm hitching my wagon to, not just based on where I can get them, but based on the potential I see for growth. I think this is a young player that already did very well, and I just can't wait to see the next year of him, and that has to be Josh Jacobs. I really love what he did last year. I love that they're obviously scheming the offense still to be around him. He is still a fixture of that offense, and they have just reinstilled that by adding amazing receiving weapons to help open up the field for him. So I love the idea of those players taking pressure off of him and him fully being able to take over the entire running game and getting to see full Josh Jacobs unload in Vegas. I just cannot wait to see him do that. So for me, my ride or die has to be Josh Jacobs.
One thing that we can say about Josh Jacobs is that they featured him in the system, and I thought he was great, even though he was actually playing through multiple injuries.
He did. He's a beast. Testament to the athleticism, absolutely.
He was fantastic, and that was kind of the question mark. But here's the counter argument: is the concern about Josh Jacobs heading into the NFL was he was never the feature back at Alabama, and he broke down when he was given a, bell cow workload. So for Josh Jacobs, of those, like, he's kind of lumped in there with like Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, like kind of that late first round, early second round running back. So there's nothing wrong as long as he gets more involved in the passing game, which that's the only thing I hate. It's the only thing I hate. There's the only bugaboo.
I get it. But for me, I think what I'm doing is I'm looking at Josh Jacobs as more as an RB2 in my full lineup. I'm not pulling him as my running back 1. So I'm also thinking that if I can get him, I'm getting him probably in the second round, and I've already taken someone like Kamara early on.
Right.
Hopefully I can grab someone like that who is more of a pass-catching running back. But for me, I just love the consistency of having someone that is such a fixture in that offense as my running back 2. I think that's a lot of security at the position.
Fair enough. Fair. And we have some folks actually sounding off on what they're drinking currently.
I'm drinking water.
Are you drinking the naughty water? I'm drinking a naughty water.
I've got margarita and I've got Captain America water right now.
Tyler, I don't know how to even say this. Topoca Chico?
Don't even try.
Pass! Anyway.
Evening Sam all day. Thanks, Will. Appreciate it.
Brava, the beer of summer. Well played, Victor, up there. And the great... coffee. It's 9:30 a.m. where Jace is. So bravo, my man. Bravo. So here's the problem is that I've got 3 players that at running back that I really, really, really feel comfortable and confident in. One of which I'll start with the one I have the lowest on the totem pole, which is Raheem Mostert. Mostert was phenomenal to finish the season. Scored a touchdown in each of the last 6 games. Of course, he dominated and just straight up devoted the job from Tevin Coleman.
Absolutely.
That NFC Championship game performance is one that, it's going to be hard to top anything of just a 1-game performance from Mostert. And I thought he was the best running back out of this backfield. And I think Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers organization and John Lynch all agree. They traded away Matt Breida in the offseason. And I think he's already taken the job from Tevin Coleman. So right now, Mostert's ADP is 53, which is, mid 5th round. For a team that finished 2nd in the league on a per game basis for rushing yardage, only behind the Baltimore Ravens, who had a quarterback that broke the single season rushing record at the quarterback spot in 15 games. The Niners want to run the football and play defense. And Mostert is going to be a huge part of that. So I have him at 3, but with the Shanahan, track record of running back by committees, I'll pass on him. A guy that I feel is a Alvin Kamara rookie type fit into his system is Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of for the Kansas City Chiefs. If you watch what Helaire was able to do for the LSU Tigers in their national championship run last year, he is a dynamo out of the backfield as far as catching passes. He is far more talented than Damian Williams. No disrespect to Damian Williams, who's done a nice job over the last 2 seasons, but Edwards-Helaire fits this offense like a glove. So he sits at 2, but the only reason why he's not my ride or die, Sam, is strictly because COVID-19 may have a significant impact on how many reps he gets in training camps and stuff of that nature, being a rookie.
Yeah, I get that.
So for me, it's Kenyon Drake.
Saw his name pop up in the comments, and I do love him as well. I think he's going to have an amazing season. But yeah, go for it.
Do you want me to go ahead and do my rant?
Yes, pretend that I said, oh my God, he's terrible. Why would you ever pick him? Go for it.
Rant time. All right. So we saw what Kenyon Drake is finally capable of doing when actually given a full workload as a starting running back. And that was only in an 8-game sample size. He was a top 5 running back, fantasy purposes and PPR formats during that 8-game span. We saw in Miami gave him the Lamar Miller treatment. Despite his efficiency, they refused to give this man a full workload for inexplicable reasons, because he was incredibly efficient with his touches.
Yeah. Do you think it was a situation where he accidentally ate a coach's sandwich, and then because of that, they just decided to not give him the playing time? Because that guy ate my sandwich.
You mean Lamar Miller ate a coach's sandwich and then got pissed off because he wasn't getting the amount of carries, got ousted and on his way to Houston, and told Kenyon Drake on the way out, hey man, eat that guy's sandwich, see what happens, see if you have a different result. He ate the sandwich. Unfortunately, he didn't get the carries that he needed. Yeah, something like that.
I think it's something like that. Something that trivial. Something
that silly. But I mean, we're talking about the perfect fit for this air raid system with Cliff Kingsbury and an offensive line that's going to get Marcus Gilbert. He never actually played a down heading into last year because he tore his ACL, and then but they re-signed him to a 1-year deal. Marcus Gilbert will be an upgrade and a competent veteran at the right tackle spot. I think this offensive line is going to get a little bit better. D Hop is going to keep the box nice and wide the hell open. They are going to see very few 8-man fronts. And the RPO option and the threat of Kyler Murray being able to run the football, this all spells so damn well for Kenyon Drake breaking out. I know he's in a tough division. I know he's going to have to play the Niners twice a year, but the system fit is damn near perfect for Kenyon Drake. And his production last year, just basically off the damn street or from Miami, getting an opportunity to be a lead back, he just straight up punked the job from David Johnson. So I don't know what there's not to like about Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot to not like about him. I think he's a great pick. I also think it's not fair that I just named one and you just went off and listed 3, but no big deal. We were supposed to pick ride or dies. You're supposed to have one ride or die.
I'm sorry.
How many ride or dies do you have in your life?
I cheated.
You cheated. Since you cheated, I'm just going to say one more name of note that I think is on top of a lot of people's lists. Has to be Joe Mixon, even though I don't like saying it because I'm a very diehard Steelers fan, and I really hate giving any kind of glory to a Bengals player. I actually went on a date with someone that was a Bengals fan, and he could not get past the fact that I was a Steelers fan. I was like, okay, I'll set that aside for today. Kept bringing up every single game that we beat them, and I'm like, so do you like hiking? I couldn't even get him to move on. It was too funny. But
you found a Bengals fan in California?
Yeah, I know. Wow. He was miserable. Miserable.
I mean, thank you for never mind. Let's move on.
Moving on.
Don't date Cincinnati Bengals fans.
No, I just want no. Never again. But just to talk a little bit about Joe Mixon, I love the potential that he has with Joe Burrow under center. I mean, we know that he can be a threat in the passing game. We know what he's capable of. He hasn't had the kind of weapon that Joe Burrow is yet. He hasn't had that. So are we about to unlock the next level? Have we just been given the gift of a new level of a video game that he's just going to destroy defenses? I think that we have. So I think that it's an exciting, combo to see. And I think that you can definitely get him at a running back 2 value. So I just love that that unlocked potential is going to be there. So hopefully, again, with COVID-19, Burrow probably not being able to practice as much with Burrow, but with Mixon. However, he seems very well equipped and very ready to be an NFL level quarterback. So I'm not necessarily worried about Burrows in that sense.
Fair enough. I mean, when we're having a couple folks jump in with their ride or dies at the running back spot.
Love it. Let's hear them.
We've seen Tyler say Zeke, but he is a given, of course, and then Drake or Clyde Edward. I like when people are riding with me. I mean,
I love it when people agree with me. It's amazing.
It makes me. It just gives me the warm and fuzzies. I apologize.
Who doesn't?
Interesting one though for Will Jenkins.
Kareem Hunt.
What do you think about Kareem Hunt being the
As a ride or die?
I mean,
they're running back too.
Yeah, but was he really? I mean, he outscored in a PPR format. I think he outscored Nick Chubb like over half the games that they both played. So is it that? I mean, he's the better buy out of that backfield. Like,
yeah, a better value buy. Absolutely, you're gonna have to pay out the nose to get Nick Chubb, but I mean, Kareem Hunt also will beat you to try and get to the elevator first. So I'm just saying, like,
okay.
You know.
Whoopsie.
And if they're put in a bubble and they're all in a hotel, I would just say maybe stay away from Kareem Hunt. I'm just saying, maybe.
Fair. We'll move on. Victor Jace is all about Saquon Barkley. You know,
Saquon Barkley. Say his name correctly. Saquon Barkley.
Did I say it incorrectly?
You did. Saquon.
I thought I said Saquon. There was no D in there. Anyway, point.
Quads.
Oh, now I get it. You added the D.
Legs.
Well, I know. It makes me feel like I'm not a man. If I look at Saquon's quads, it's unnatural. But I mean, he's a human, so I can't deny that the fact that he's got quads like that it hurts my soul. Anyway, so we're moving to wide receiver. We're talking about not only quads that make me jealous, but we're talking about wide receivers, and I feel as if there is a ton of middle round value on wide receivers in the 2020 ADP as currently constructed. I found a handful of names, but I won't do this because you shamed me for naming 3 running backs. So I'll only name one. I'll name one.
You go first.
Oh, you want me to go first? Okay.
You go first then.
I'm going to stay with the Cincinnati Bengals, and I'm going to say Tyler Boyd, because back-to-back seasons on terrible teams for the most part, the man has finished as a top 20 PPR wide receiver. And last year, that involved a revolving door at the quarterback spot with mostly Andy Dalton under center and a terrible offensive line. And I get they were playing from behind a lot, but I don't think that that's going to change all that much. But I have a lot more confidence in Joe Burrow. Even if Joe Burrow gets off to a slow start, I still think that the Bengals offense is going to be more productive in 2020. It may look ugly, but who's going to be the safety blanket? Because right now, AJ Green is in a contract squabble with the Cincinnati Bengals. And I know they drafted T. Higgins, but T. Higgins is a rookie wide receiver with limited reps. So who's going to be the go-to guy in the passing game? I think it's going to be Tyler Boyd. And Boyd has proven he can move all over the formation. And some of the best success that Joe Burrow had at the University of LSU is with Justin Jefferson, who was primarily a slot wide receiver.
Yeah.
So to me, Tyler Boyd right now, who is averaging going in the 7th round, ADP 76 at wide receiver 31, that is criminal. Like, way too low. I am willing to take him probably in the 5th round. Would think it's a home run in the 6th in PPR formats. So for me, it's Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, I mean, I like that pick. Again, just pivoting off of the Joe Burrow talk, I love the potential for that entire offense. I mean, talking about offenses that most people just stayed completely clear of in 2019, outside of Joe Mixon, which people were still buying up on. I feel like there's a lot of potential for all these receivers. I'm someone that still has Auden Tate in the Dynasty League, and I'm probably not going to let him go because I do love his height, and I love that Burrows is someone that's going to utilize the entire field. So he's not going to be just paired off with one receiver and one running back. He is going to utilize every weapon at his disposal. So I'm definitely hoping for some of those dart throw players, those dart throw receivers for the Bengals to end up rising in their value. So I do like that pick. I think that's a good one.
John Ross is another one that I'm
absolutely.
willing to take. I'm willing to take plenty of stock in all of the Cincinnati Bengals wide receivers.
Plenty of dart throws, and hopefully, if you have a league again that is going to be very aware of the COVID-19 issue in the NFL, maybe adds a couple extra bunch spots. Why not? You know, we're all going to be able to need them, use them. It's going to be one of those years. We're just got to be, it's like storing up on toilet paper, but like in a sensible way. Like, you know, you got to just get those extra utilities that you know you're going to need.
Yeah. Wide receiver for you. Which one? Who are you riding with?
You know, I was going to go one direction. Now I'm going to go another. I'm going to go to a player that is a ride or die that is just, he's close to my heart. He's a player that I know he does so well. And I feel like he's losing credit and his name isn't being spoken of enough. And that's got to be Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp came back from a crazy injury. He was on track during that year when he got hurt to have an insane year stats-wise. And he came back 2019 and had an amazing year. It's more like he had 10 touchdowns. I mean, he had 6 the year before where he did get hurt. So he had 10 touchdowns in 2019. He had over 1,000 receiving yards. He was an amazing receiving threat. But people are talking about Robert Woods like he's now their new wide receiver number 1. Now, I do love Robert Woods. In the same note, I love him too. Warm and fuzzy right there in my heart. But I don't want people to forget about Cooper Kupp. He's still going to be the number 1 receiver there. Yes, they're utilizing Robert Woods, but we've seen a lot of success with a lot of receivers getting, you know, the ball and getting it spread out in LA. So that's not the issue here. To me, the issue is I don't want people forgetting about Cooper Kupp and missing out on a player that based on where he's going, you can get a wide receiver 1 that's going to get the target volume that he is and be successful with it the way that he's been.
You hit the nail on the head when it comes to Cooper Kupp. I've never seen a wide receiver finish inside the top 5 where his situation is not changing at all. In fact, it's gotten better now that they traded
Brandon Cooks is gone. Mm-hmm.
Why in the world is Cooper Kupp not getting more love? Cooper Kupp should be a 2nd-round pick, and yet
he's not.
His ADP says he's not.
Yeah. He's going so late. So I want you guys to write his name down. If you're at your computer, put a Post-it note, put it there so that when you're drafting, you do not forget about this player because everyone else is forgetting about him. And I think it's because of the amazing, you know, output that we saw from Robert Woods. He got utilized in the running game, which was amazing for Robert Woods owners like me who got a championship. Thanks, Robert Woods. But also we saw success for Tyler Higbee, which was also exciting. Again, another receiving threat. But the Rams have had a lot of success with spreading the ball out, and there's plenty of love to go around. So I do not see the need to devalue Cooper Kupp because I think that he's going to have another amazing year in 2020, and he's got that great rapport already with Jared Goff. He's just so – you can rely on the guy. He's consistent.
Well, not only that, but we don't know what the hell to expect out of that backfield there, so we don't know if we're going to see a ton of targets out of the backfield or if it's just going to be relying on Cooper Kupp and Bob Woods to really carry the passing
which they can 100% do. They're entirely capable of doing it. And I mean, hopefully Tyler Higbee still gets a lot of value. I mean, I'm sure that you'll probably pick him for your ride or die for tight end. Not to spoiler alert, guess who your tight end is going to be.
Just relax.
I'm just saying, I know how much you love the guy. I'm just saying. But I don't want people to forget about Cooper Kupp. I will die on this hill.
There's no hill to die on. I think most people are jumping on that hill with you. I mean, you're defending the hill. I mean,
there's margaritas on this hill.
Yeah, I mean, I made a fatal mistake, not going potty before we actually recorded because I mean these Bud Light seltzers are just flowing. But point being is that I liken Cooper Kupp and Bob Woods to the likes of Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders or Eric Decker, whoever you want to pick. They're both underrated, underappreciated producers at the running or at the wide receiver spot.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a great duo to compare them to, actually, just in the amount of volume that they both can have and the star power they can both have different games. So you can see one have more success one game and one have more success the following game, but they're both top receivers that belong on your roster.
And they both have a safe weekly floor that you feel confident in. So, I mean, and there's a bunch of great picks in the comments that we're about to get to when it comes to their ride or dies at the wide receiver spot. But in particular, when it comes to Cooper Kupp, Cooper Kupp deserves to be a second-round pick. Right now, he is average ADP of 37, which in a 12-team format, that's the first pick in the fourth round, which to me just seems asinine. Cooper Kupp is going to ball out, and then Bob Woods, same thing. If you can get Bob Woods, who had similar target volume and even more touches in the running game than Cooper Kupp did, you're going – nice Captain America cup, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, is that what you made your – I thought you were drinking out of a different cup.
I have 2 cups.
Are we talking Cooper Kupp? Like, nice cup?
Yeah. Cups on cups on cups.
Cups on cups on cups. So, a couple folks jumping in here before we get to the tight ends. Wide receivers that they're riding or dying with. Kyle Senra, OBJ at wide receiver 6.
I thought we were friends.
Kyle, I'd love most of Kyle's takes, but dude, OBJ, I'm not rolling with OBJ, man. Like, doesn't it feel like he is the guy that is immensely talented that underproduces? Like, there's always an excuse that he doesn't like fully reach his potential.
Yeah, there's always like a, that the extra goal on the sideline was in my way and I got mad at it. Like, there's just stuff that just gets in his way. I think gets in his head. It sucks because I do love the athleticism of OBJ. I feel like he has a lot of potential, but I feel like time and time again, we're like, but he didn't get there. Didn't have
the excuse.
That. Yeah.
First it was Eli Manning. Then he gets, moved to the Cleveland Browns after getting paid, by the way. Mm-hmm. And he moves to the Cleveland Browns and he plays all 16 games. Now, of course, it comes out, he had an injury that he was fighting through. I'm sick of this. OBJ, if you are a transcendent talent at the wide receiver position and you're paired with a competent young quarterback in Baker Mayfield, I don't see the fantasy explosion or upside that I would have seen with OBJ. You got Kevin Stefanski now there, man. I mean, he's the head coach, and he's taken what worked for him in Minnesota and now probably implementing it into the Cleveland Browns. I mean, not only does he have someone just like Dalvin Cook, well, I mean, not exactly skill set wise, but a nice running back in Nick Chubb, also Kareem Hunt, which, by the way, led the league in rushing his rookie season, and a vastly improved offensive line. So I just don't see the upside with the target monster that Jarvis Landry is, and Austin Hooper arriving in town. I just don't see it for OBJ. Sorry, Kyle. I feel like I just killed your pick, but anyway. Tyler saying Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I love Calvin Ridley as a pick. I think it's a good one as well. I don't know about ride or die though.
I don't know if I'll have Calvin Ridley on every single team, but I do. I think it's an underrated thing that Austin Hooper is no longer there.
Mm-hmm,
and that certainly could help. And Mohamed Sanu, by the way, Mohamed Sanu started the year on the roster. So Ridley could see a significant bump in target. So I like the pick. I'm not, there's other guys I'm higher on than Calvin Ridley. Allen Robinson
that's a good one.
I love A-Rob. What I saw a post today saying that A-Rob was garbage. And that pissed me off to the point where I actually promptly responded saying his take was garbage on Twitter. And I don't do that very often, but
did you try and start a fight?
I did. I was pissed. I was really angry because Allen Robinson was actually very productive,
gentleman, scholar. Yep, I agree. And I also think that with Nick Foles under center, he's going to have far more production.
Either one of them. If he produced top 10 PPR production last year with Trubisky under center, whether it's Trubisky or Foles, your boy A-Rob is going to do his damn thing. So
he's going to do a thing. Yeah.
Do his thing. Will Jenkins going. I mean, it's hard to argue with Adam Thielen.
Yeah, and I also think that Adam Thielen's someone that's getting forgotten a lot too, and he does well with having another receiver to balance out. And I think that Justin Jefferson is a great new rookie receiver to help balance him out and bring him more of that amazing fantasy value and targets. So I do love Adam Thielen, and you're going to get him healthy, so it's exciting.
Healthy Adam Thielen. And look, don't get me wrong, Justin Jefferson did a lot of good things in a pro-style system there at LSU last year.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that sucks for Justin Jefferson is that Thielen does some great work out of the slot.
He does.
And Jefferson was predominantly a slot dynamo there at LSU. With limited reps and limited practice and all that stuff for rookies, I think Jefferson may get off to a slower start, which means you're going to have to rely on your boy Adam Thielen a lot.
Sure, but all you really want out of a player like that, that's not going to be maybe the one that they're immediately targeting. You're just going to want the speed, and you're going to get that with him. That's going to help open that up. So I still think that there's going to be some good potential for Thielen there.
Speaking of speed, Hollywood Brown.
Love that one.
Baltimore Ravens.
Yep, good ride or die.
I mean, Lamar Jackson only led the league in touchdown passes playing 15 games, and Hollywood Brown really struggled the entire season with injuries.
Mm-hmm.
But we saw him in flashes with limited snap counts. The ceiling is very intriguing with Hollywood Brown. It's just he's a speed guy. Do we trust his weekly volume in a PPR format?
Yeah, I get that. Do you just? I mean, yes, you're going to get the big play. You're going to get an amazing 60-yard touchdown run. You're going to get that. But are you going to get the number of catches that you need him to get in a game, in an instance, that's going to help you in a PPR format to win that position week to week? I think that's your question.
That weekly volume just makes me a bit hesitant, but the upside is certainly there. If you get if you pair him up with a couple of wide receivers that you have like a nice weekly for, like Adam Thielen, and then you pair him up with the upside of Hollywood Brown, I actually am a huge fan of that.
I like that, yeah.
Jace, who's your team, Derek? Hang some stuff on the whiteboard. Yeah, I get it.
In his defense, he's probably going to move. He's probably going to move soon, so maybe that's why he's not getting more invested. I understand.
It's always been shit behind the wall, just white stuff. But I am going to be moving, and I will make myself
You will try.
Well, yes, but I have Kelly on my side, so she will make sure that it looks, aesthetically pleasing. But it is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Kyle, you are right. I am a Bucs fan.
Yes,
thank you for jumping in there. He jumps in with Adam Thielen as well, and Kyle mentions Tyler Higbee, and we're going to go ahead, and that's a beautiful segue to the tight end. Time to talk about the tight ends. So, Sam, you go ahead and kick us off. Who's your ride or die tight end for 2020?
Well, I don't know that you're going to take him, so I'm just going to go ahead and take him since you're letting me pick first, and that's the way we're doing this thing. But I'm going to take Tyler Higbee as my ride or die tight end. I'm just going to do it. Just going to go and swipe that one right off the table.
That's rude.
Because, I mean, we all saw the amazing output that he had at the end of last season. Now I think that we've both been, hyping the hype train, keeping the coals in the engine going on this hype train for years now, where everyone was saying, you guys are crazy. It's not this guy. And we're like, no, he's the guy. Finally, boom, hits it. And I think, again, with Cooks being out of this system and having the number of targets that are available to him going into 2020, I think that Tyler Higbee is still going to be someone that should stay high on your roster list. Now, I do think that the hype on him has now skyrocketed based on those last couple games. I get it. We're all a little bit too excited. So I would hope his ADP comes down a little bit because I don't necessarily want to spend that much on a tight end outside of those top three main ones. However, I definitely think that it's worth it. Tight end premium leagues, he's someone to go for. His numbers have just skyrocketed, again, off of those last couple games, but we do see the potential for the red zone threat that he is, that we always knew he could be. So love that. His yards, from 2018 to 2019, went from 292 to 734. His targets went from 34 to 89, and his touchdowns went up as well. He got 3 touchdowns, and that's amazing. So I think that we're going to see another spike in touchdowns, maybe a drop in a little bit of yards, maybe a bit more efficiency there. We just see an immediate red zone threat in him. But I just love the potential for him, so I'm excited to see him for 2020.
So I'm angry that you stole my guy.
Did it?
It actually pisses me off. I know you did it on purpose,
I
and
did.
there was
Does
spite
it
there.
hurt?
Yeah, it hurts. It hurts. For those of you that don't know or just joining us for the first time, again, thank you for joining us live here on Fantasy Focus. I know Tyler Higbee personally. I got a chance and the privilege to be able to call all of his high school football games when he was a skinny, lanky, 6'5" wide receiver at Eastlake High School, where he was 180 pounds soaking wet as a senior, and then put on 70 pounds of muscle at the University of Western Kentucky as a hilltopper, and then has done his thing in the National Football League. Look, I love Tyler Higbee. The fact that they traded away Brandon Cooks, I'm not scared of Van Jefferson. I'm not scared of Josh Reynolds. I think that, of course, we've talked about Cooper Kupp and Bob Woods. I think they're going to still have very significant roles. But I think that Tyler Higbee is, based on his role and how he played Gerald Everett off the field. Now, granted, Everett was not playing there for a while because of injury, and Everett was actually seeing a favorable snap count earlier in the season. And Everett's a better athlete than Higbee, but Higbee's the better player. Higbee is the better pass catcher. Higbee is the better blocker by a landslide. He's going to see more snaps in 2020. And Higbee is just a damn good football player, and I'm proud as all hell to say that he's an East Laker, and then I get to call him a friend. So I have a little bit of bias. He sits near and dear to my heart, but I'm super high on Higbee. In all seriousness, it's not just a homer pick. I do think that he is going to see a ton of volume at the tight end spot and proved what he is capable of doing for the 2020 season. So at tight end, though, now that you stole mine, another guy that I really like, T.J. Hawkinson. And
Ooh, okay. Surprising.
Hear me out. I thought Hawkinson got off to a fantastic start. And his draft day ADP right now is like round 10. It's super, super, super late. And to be, 100% particular when it comes to Hawkinson, right now he's averaging going 128, which is like the beginning of the 10th round, or like 10th round in a 12-team draft, which his pass catching ability with Matthew Stafford under center it's a nice match. Like, I get that Stafford doesn't have a long track record with fantasy relevant tight ends, but Hawkinson is a damn nice player, and I expect him to grow into his role in a team that's going to be playing from behind a lot, Sam. There's going to be a lot of pass-catching opportunities for T.J. Hawkinson, and his draft day price is so low that I think he's an easy guy that I want on my roster. Even if I have to stream tight ends, he is somebody that I want on my roster. I love the upside in a passing offense.
Love that. I mean, not to completely segue off that, but to pivot a little, because I do love the Hawkinson pick. I love his name because it's a wonderful name, but also I will be talking with my dear friend, Mike Rothstein, writer for ESPN, writer for the Lions specifically. So I'll be sure to talk a bit of TJ Hawkinson when I get him on the line tomorrow. So I'll be sure to do that for you.
Fair enough. So we've got a lot of comments. I feel like it's hard to catch up with all of these, but
I will try not to drink my entire margarita as we go through this.
I mean, other names that have been brought up, Higbee hands down, Blake Jarwin. Personally, Jace, I'm not super high on Blake Jarwin. I think that they've got enough mouths to feed in that passing offense with now CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper.
Also, we did get the note that Jace is from Australia, so thanks for tuning in all the way from down under.
Aussie, oi. But
don't be offended, Jace.
Yeah, well, I mean, we got Victor Jace, who's coming in with Darren Waller. Like, what is there not to like about Darren Waller?
Waller the baller.
He was anybody that was high on him heading into last year. I mean, they hit home runs. I mean, because he was a guy that was either late round pick or going undrafted.
Streaming tight end that you just happened to put in at that week, and then you hit a boom, and it was a great pick. So yeah, I love Waller, and I don't see him losing or having a dip in stats going into 2020 based on effectiveness. I think that he's going to still see that volume.
I think we may have a first-time listener, first-time caller, Tasita Assassin. Did I go that right, or is it Tacit Assassin?
Tacit Assassin. Maybe it's Tacit Assassin 13. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Always excited to get new listeners and tuning in. Loving it.
And
this year they love Jack Doyle and Irv Smith, our nice deep ads.
Look, Eric Ebron is gone from Indianapolis. And Jack Doyle, when healthy, is a competent pass-catching tight end. He's not super athletic, but he is a solid pass-catching option like that of Cameron Brate. Sure. And really, outside of T.Y. Hilton, who's going
to catch the ball? Yep, who's going to catch the ball? No, I love the amount of targets that he has potential to get, so I think that's a great pick as well.
Jonnu Smith. We got some Jonnu Smith love. I just don't know if I believe in the Ryan Tannehill revolution. Like, I get he had a great 2019.
You need to see a couple more games to believe it. I'm hearing that.
Not a believer. I hate saying it.
Not a believer.
I hate saying it because
I get it. And I feel like because it's such a run-heavy offense, it's hard to have confidence in your tight end at a team like that.
And the numbers and the film from we saw towards the end of like the playing time that he got in the regular season. Look, there's no reason not to feel good about him. But it's just like my gut.
There's no reason to feel great. There's no reason to feel great, and I think that's where you're hitting.
Yeah, maybe. And then we did get phonetic spelling. Tacit.
Oh. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, is there anything else you would like to sign off on? Before we sign off. Because
before we sign off, this has been an awesome episode. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. As always, I mean, we love it when you guys jump in with your comments, your questions. We are going to have another episode tomorrow with the whole crew, another squad up with the whole crew. Very excited for that. What time did we decide on for that?
It is going to be, I have to look at my phone.
4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific, I think.
I have to look, but, go ahead and hit everybody with the handles while I'm trying to look right now. I mean, if Levy's still listening, he should jump in right now with the time.
No, I think it's 4:30 Eastern and 1:30 Pacific is what we're doing next time. Tomorrow for the
4:30. Yep, 4:30 Eastern Standard Time, 1:30 Pacific.
Guys, go ahead and give Derek a follow on all forms of social media. You can find him at dtater4. For myself, you can find me on Twitter at Samantha R. Holt and on Instagram at Sam_awesome. So if you haven't already, please hit subscribe. We really appreciate it. And if you guys are loving this evening time of the fantasy debate, please also comment at us on Twitter, and then we will make it the regular. Because, I mean, I have to personally self-quarantine for at least 2 weeks because someone at my work tested positive for COVID. So I'm locked down, not going anywhere. You guys can get me anytime. Just tell me when, and I will be there. So please go ahead and hit subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you guys tomorrow, hopefully. So enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Absolutely. And just real quick, Victor Jace, a couple other pro football players that went to the high school that I announced. Mason Cole of the Arizona Cardinals. He's an offensive lineman. Artavis Scott, who is on the practice squad of the Indianapolis Colts. And I believe there was actually a couple other ones. Hunter Snyder, that is like on the practice team for the San Francisco 49ers. And I'm turning on my anchor voice right now, so I'll stop on that note. Until next time, hopefully tomorrow, later, says the Tater.
Bye, guys.